What's up? We are here for our weekly romance oracle message. Just taking a look at our love lives within the context of this Leo eclipse portal. Ooh, the bee, luck, industriousness, and sweet victory. I would say that it is about showing up consistently in positive ways that are productive. So, we can spin our wheels when it comes to our goals and our love lives. And I relate those together because Venus rules over your finances and your security and the way that you generate sustenance as well as your love life. And they're both sort of a reflection of your self-worth. And so when you have a high self-worth, or you're showing yourself, demonstrating your self-worth and self-respect and self-love, then you show up consistently and you keep promises to yourself. But when you show up with intention. And you don't do things that are anti-productive to your goals and desires. For instance, if you are wanting to, say, eat clean and feel better and sleep better and detox your system, then you are going to work hard to resist the temptation to run out and get fast food or a lot of processed foods, frozen foods, things like that. You're going to try to make an effort consistently to persevere and be industrious, right? So in your love life, many times we might spin our wheels by, kind of entertaining crushes and flirtations with people who we know are counterproductive to our goals. We know they may not be in the same season of life as we are, not at the same stage of readiness for what we're looking for. Or maybe they don't have the tools or the resources to be able to deliver or be in the kind of relationship that we're ready for, right? So I think it's about being realistic and honest, but doing yourself a favor by continuously taking small actions and making small choices that lead to bigger things, right? Like the bees, when you think about it, they pollinate and they have to bring this pollen back to the beehives. And if you start a new beehive, it takes several years for them to generate enough of a supply in order for them to have an ongoing food supply and for you to then harvest honey. So be patient and consistent. If they don't do those tiny consistent actions, think about those little bits of honey that one little bee can bring back each trip eventually adds up to these huge jars of honey, right? So be consistent and be true to yourself. And then, I've heard Oprah describe luck as timing meets preparedness, right? So there's no such thing as luck. Everything is ordered and designed in such a way, but we do need to build the vessel in order to be ready to have the capacity to receive that and have the desire to make the continuous effort required. Because not only does finding a relationship take effort, but maintaining a relationship takes effort as well. All right, the goblin, the wounded human ego. So that is rearing its ugly head during this Leo eclipse season. One of the positive things about Leo is that they are magnanimous and they can shine bright and confidently, speak their truth and stand up for what they believe in and be leaders and get things done. But on the lower octave end of the vibrational spectrum with Leo, they can be a little bit egotistical or even an egomaniac. And if they are triggered, it can stir up those ego reactions. So we're all sort of under this influence of the Leo magnet sort of pulling at our shadow, or there are our more lower octave side. What parts of our ego are still perceptible to taking the bait, right? When we see ourselves and our reactive nature coming up, if we can choose to restrict the ego, but instead choose to align with the voice of the soul, the higher self, the super consciousness, the Christ consciousness within, then that actually breaks down the ego and reveals this energy and creation stuff that makes miracles. So defeating the goblin it feels like a chore sometimes, but it does have its benefits, even if we can't see those benefits in a direct and immediate way. Trust the path. This was with us last week. So, take each step mindfully. You don't want to just go blindly running down this path. You could twist your ankle, but watch each step, but don't avoid going out to the path in the first place, right? If you don't trust the path, then you might miss the entire walk. You might miss the entire journey. I remember when I wasn't as confident about going and walking through the woods alone. I was a little bit more afraid of potential, dangers. And that would have held me back from many years of joy if I didn't eventually just take a leap of faith and trust the path. Now, I do have to listen with discernment when I have, sketchy situations out there. But I don't avoid going altogether. The dragon, power and strength. So we are gaining all of this power and strength from that bold, fiery Leo energy. It is, Leo is our fixed energy, right? So it's like fire that is consistent and enduring and determined. And so we need to allow this bold, courageous energy, fiery passion to kind of reawaken a desire that could possibly feel like it's a little bit dwindling. I think a lot of us have described a sense of just kind of fatigue and exhaustion and a little bit of burnout or a little bit of hopes fizzling. But I think that there are certain tiny sparks of hope and light coming to the surface, and I think things are beginning to stir and simmer. It's almost like, when I think that things are about to happen and they're about to break through, it reminds me of the process of Champagnes when they make champagne, and the second stage of fermentation happens inside the bottle, and that's when the carbonation starts forming, and that's when the bubbles start to form. So I do feel things stirring, but we have to act with power and strength too. So that means showing up when we don't necessarily feel like it, or, exercising discipline and restraint when it's difficult. So I feel good about this. I feel like we need to don't listen to our insecurities, don't listen to the voice of self-doubt, but be consistent in following through on what we truly desire, not getting caught up in fruitless dead ends or distractions or things that we know aren't really compatible or aligned. I think that we need to pay attention to that negative goblin's voice, but only so that we can dismantle those beliefs and probe them and question them and challenge them. And moving on and forward, pay attention to the red flags, but don't lock yourself off and block yourself off from any opportunities or love at all. You gotta give people a little bit of a chance. And if they show you cause for concern, then, step back and maybe reconsider. But, people might surprise you as well. So have courage, have power, have strength, right? Be bold, right? Don't shrink away. Don't hide away. Don't be so timid that you never take a risk because you're scared of rejection. I have been rejected many times. I've been embarrassed many times, and I've lived to tell the tale, honestly. And the more you do it, the less that you are embarrassed or the less it affects you at all. I work at a restaurant, and so a lot of times I'll see attractive men around the dining room, and I have a reason to walk up to their table. I might go walk up and water them or something and maybe engage a little bit. And I don't necessarily come away with that with a lot of dates, but the thing is, I don't take it personally that people have a lot things that could be the case, right? They're not available. They're totally not interested in my type at all. Like they have different tastes, or your personalities would totally collide. So I don't take that as a personal rejection, and I don't take it as something to break down my self-worth or my confidence. I just feel like, well, someone who's really compatible, like I wouldn't want anyone that wasn't quite right anyway, because being in a relationship with the wrong person is way worse than just being by yourself and finding contentment until the right thing comes along. All right, you guys, that is all for today. I hope that we make some progress in our love lives. It may not be the moment that something starts right in the middle of eclipse season, but things could be shifting. Seeds could be planting. The winds of change are blowing. So put your hopes and dreams and seed them in your heart, but also ask, what can you give to the universe right now, or to life, or to, we're always asking God to give us things and bring us things, but what are we giving? What are we giving up? What are we sacrificing? What are we changing within ourselves to bring ourselves closer to the Creator? It's not all about like this shame and piety, and we've got to, make these awful sacrifices. And it's like, how can we refine ourselves so that our spirit is lifted, that we can hear the voices of the Creator more in depth? And, when you want to get closer to someone, you might do something that builds things in common. And so the Creator is no different. When you start looking at, at the relationship like you would any other relationship, it makes a lot more sense, and it feels a lot less heavy, right? A lot less demanding, a lot less authoritarian, and just more like intimacy. All right, you guys, that is all. I will see you tomorrow for our weekend reflection message. Until then, peace.